I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now, what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
Oh, give me fucking truth, baby! Come on! Let's go!
How have I been this successful in life?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back bringing you a special all-Canadian edition of the MMA Analysis. Since we've got the most Canadian fighters on a card in, 5 years. A bunch of years. It's not good. But we're proud of our country, right, Shaun?
Sure. I'm so proud that this fight is happening like 20 minutes away from me, and I am not even going.
That's fair. I can't say I would for this card. And what's the cheapest ticket in the house?
So you can get in the doors for 140 Canadian.
Can you see anything?
I mean, you might as well watch it on TV. You got to get the binos out. I think anything decent, you're probably at least 400.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which is actually like not that much higher than what it used to be. But those cards that we used to get were pay-per-view cards, and this is a fight night card. So that's, it's a tough one.
Not exactly a pay-per-view quality fight night. It could be worse, though. My wife was looking at Taylor Swift tickets. She was like, yeah, to get a fully obstructed view right now, it's like $1,400. I was like, yeah, you're not doing that. No. You saw her in Detroit. You're good.
Fuck, I'm pretty sure you can watch her on Prime and get the whole experience. I don't know if it's Prime or which streaming service has the. I'm pretty sure the video. So,
no, I know there's like the concert movie. Like,
yeah.
Who cares? Anyway, we got fights in Canada with the exchange rate. They did 14 fights on the card, so that translates to like maybe 9 of them will actually happen or be worth watching. Probably not. That's pretty optimistic. I mean, for people that actually like spend all of their time watching the entire card. LR Trump. When I went to retweet Shaun's post that the podcast was live, there was a picture of him in full pumpkin face. That dude is not healthy.
He's made for Halloween. He is made for Halloween.
He's just built for the season. Maybe that's what it is. Get in the spirit. Yeah. Anyway, we had a card last week. It was a good one. I didn't see all of it. I never do anymore. Got the important stuff, and we'll break down that real quick, and then we'll hop over to this weekend's card, and hopefully we'll get you out of here in 45 minutes or so tonight, folks. We're gonna try and blow through stuff. UFC 308 start at the top. Was looking like the great fight that we all anticipated it was going to be early. Was pretty damn good 2 rounds, but man, Topuria just has like some insane power that even Prime Connor or like going way back dudes like Kid Yamamoto that would melt guys. I think it's even beyond those. He's just got the most ridiculous power that we've ever seen at the lighter weight classes.
He did it, man. I kind of, that's the way I saw this going, and even seeing it happen was shocking. I mean, Max has never been knocked down, obviously never been finished, and to see it happen is a wild thing to see. Like you said, fight was living up to the hype. And then Tapuria does what he does, man. He lands a big one and he swarms and he's got it all, man. He's a very good fighter. I know people hate him because of the way he talks. I like him because like I'm not like super invested like some hardcores that really care about that shit. So I can just kind of enjoy it that he's like riling people up, and then when he actually like does shit that he says, it's kind of like I feel like I would have been on the other side if I was into this as much as I was when like McGregor was coming up and we were all like talking shit and saying he was a fraud and stuff like that. And now I'm on the other side, so I'm quite enjoying it. Still sad to see Max on the ground like that, but yeah, Topuria is good. Kind of opens the door. I know like Max and Volk have been at the top of 45 for a very, very long time. Might get some fresh matchups. I hope they don't do the Volk rematch, but seems like UFC thinks yeah. They're so quick. I mean, they did same thing with Adesanya. Like the guys that the champions that are company men and save cards or go to places where other guys won't go. I feel like they kind of treat them well when they give up the belt. So seems like Dana's leaning that way. I don't know. They might just be forced for Volk to fight somebody else because I think that's a bit of a quick turnaround for Topuria to go to Australia at UFC 112. I don't know. There's talks of doing maybe an interim belt, which is just hilarious because
that was
like okay. Here's the thing: interim belts, like, it helps the fighters because supposedly they get paid more money, which fair enough, they deserve that. But now that they do sometimes 5-round co-main events like they did on Saturday, we don't really need a belt. Just make it literally a number one contender fight that's 5 rounds as a co-main event. Like that's fine.
But you just pay them more even when they're not champions or fighting for a belt.
Not gonna happen. not gonna happen unless forced to by the government.
Yeah, sure. Diego Volk. I don't care who he fights. He's one of the most fun fighters to watch out there these days. Probably, I mean, not probably. He's pound for pound the best fighter in the world right now. Like, you can't have the run of wins that he's had and not be considered the best guy in the world. It's absolutely preposterous that anyone could think anyone else is in that spot. Co-main event, the old cum shot right in the face, broke his face. Oh well, I really wanted him to lose this one. I wanted him to lose most of them, but I really wanted him to. I'm not even like a big Whitaker guy.
No.
It would have been fun.
I just wanted to see him tested, to see if what's that cardio look like when he's just absolutely wrestling his ass off for 7 minutes. We almost got to find out, but fucking Whitaker, man, like, he comes out and says this is a thing that has been around since he's a child, and then it got worse against DDP. Doesn't get it fixed because he probably should have a plate in his fucking jaw to fix that problem. So then, of course, he's fighting a guy that's going to grapple him. Oh, if is a grappler going to get his back and possibly try to put in a rear naked choke? Yeah, obviously that was going to fucking happen. So then, like, not getting that fixed is like you're literally just like giving him the fight almost, unless you knock him out before he gets a hold of you. It's very annoying.
He just needs that UFC insurance to pay for it. Now that it's happened in a fight, then he can be like, yeah, you got to fix it for me.
Fuck's sakes. It's very annoying. But, Chimaev did what he's supposed to do. Like, I mean, it's not his fault that fucking Whitaker's got a weird half-broken jaw. And, yeah. I kind of hope he gets the title shot, honestly. Like, dude needs to fight more because it is a big deal when he fights because we don't know what the fuck is going to happen. And I don't need to see Strickland for 5 more rounds of just jabbing and doing fucking nothing. So it probably won't work, and they're probably going to do Strickland anyway because, of course, Hamzat can't go some places, but
I mean, I'm sure they can figure out something since the champ is in South Africa. So
Chimaev's doing like what are they call those things when they come and do like a training session, but for like the public, they can like sign up for that. He's doing that in Australia. So he can obviously get into Australia. Well, there's UFC 112. There we go. That's who PvP should fight. Easy peasy.
Sure, yeah. He can absolutely not fly to Vegas. And Jeff, I do tend to hate people that associate with known war criminals. Hang out with them, have fun with them and their kids. Not the biggest fans of those guys. Yeah. Yep, I don't think that's going away anytime soon. The rest of the main card, Yankalaev, classic Yankalaev, Lerone Murphy. I did not expect him to come back in this fight after how the first round went, and good on him. He did it against a guy that's tough, doesn't really go away, but that was somewhat impressive. And then the lazy-eyed dudes, I hate the dude. That was pretty fucking cool.
Definitely. Yeah, that was a perfect Yankalaev fight because he comes out and says, I'm not even going to shoot because UFC wants to see me have an excited fight. So what does he do? He has a boring ass fucking fight on the feet like only he can have. Amazing. There's just a bunch of these, minus 250, 300, 400 fights that like I didn't want to play the favorite because I thought they were going to be close fights, and for the most part that happened in the Ankalaev fight and the Murphy Ige fight. So I think only one of the favorites got caught, but there was some chances there. So yeah, and the one-eyed Madoff is he's still fraud, but the UFC knows better and is booking him against strikers. I mean, he can do some cool shit on the feet.
Mm-hmm. Certainly can. I mean, and even in that, it's not like he was running away with that fight. Like pretty much everybody, well, not pretty much everybody. I saw it kind of split as to how the first round was scored, but close fight. It was lined close as well, so no shock there. Prelims, I don't know who they give Magomedov next. Probably somebody that can't grapple. I don't know who that is that's going to be a bump up for him in the middleweight division. I don't know if they really think they've got something. Paulo
Costa, that's not bad.
That would be some chaos, but we'll see. We will see. Prelim card. We're gonna fly through this. Chronicles of Narnia with the standing TKO in the first minute. RDA is old, and Jeff Neal won because he is old. The one I do regret, I only had the Rebeshki points in a stupid parlay that was a Hail Mary that didn't hit. Didn't play it straight, but seemingly good performance. I haven't seen these ones at this point, folks, so I got nothing until the last couple. A bust got the third round. Look at that cardio machine go. Arm triangle choke over Bruno. Not a good night for the Brunos and Brunos, I will say. Not a good night for our fatty's gonna fatty either. Chris Barnett does things or tries to do things that his body is not capable of doing, hurts himself because of it, and then we lose some bets. Basharat is boring. Bruno Silva, I mean, I don't know how to feel about stuff like this because he came out and talked about, how it feels like he's in a black hole or whatever when the fight starts going the way that he doesn't want it to go. Like, guys know that this is happening to him. He knows it's not the first time. They keep getting in there. So, like, I'm not sure if I should actually feel bad for you or not, or just be like, maybe stop. But that was weird and just an awful performance. And then the judges got us off to a rip-roaring start in the curtain jerker with fuck right off, getting the old fuck right off from the judge. Or I guess Leal got the fuck right off from the judges. Unanimous decision there somehow. Anything on those prelims, Shaun?
As we talked about the prelim main event or whatever the hell you want to call it, that was an absolute setup fight. He just dusted that guy. Yeah, I think we got to stop trusting like 40-year-old dudes and dudes that are like 300 pounds because they're just gonna fall apart.
Yep.
RDA fell apart. We had fucking the karate boy fall apart. I mean, he didn't fall apart, but he got finished late after being in a close fight. But it's tough to trust these old guys because they can be all of a sudden they're shot, they're not going to strike. They could be shot, they don't have chin anymore, or their body could just fall apart from fighting fucking a million times. Tough one.
So, folks, start looking at the oldest fighters on this week's card, and you might find what bets we have coming up.
Here we go.
We can't quit.
Yeah, Rebechki was one of the one guy that came through as a decent sized dog. Orobai's good. He just gets hit too much, and I don't think Rebechki is as bad as him just gassing out against CDF. But that was a fucking fun fight. Yeah, who cares about a bus? And Bruno, like I talked about, don't trust extreme fatties. We don't want 300 pounders. We want like 270s. That's when the fattiness is perfect.
You don't want the guys that have to like cut weight to make heavyweight.
We just want the guys that has to go for a jog before he weighs in or skip breakfast.
Yeah, the classic Derek Lewis picture on the toilet cutting weight.
Yeah, pre-game cut weight. Yeah, yeah. Silva's. I mean, he's not giving the check back, so we can't feel too bad for him.
Right.
And then that was pretty bad scorecards, but like the 30-27 is criminal. 29-28 is a bad scorecard. 30-27 is criminal. Yeah. So it's good to see that there's shitty judging no matter where you go.
Oh, and we are gonna have some shitty judging coming through for us in Canada. Don't know how big of the hometown bias there'll be. I know we've had some real bad homer Canadian decisions in the past, but I think that the environment over here isn't quite the same as it was when those sorts of decisions took place. So, first time in Canada in like, oh no, they were in Vancouver recently, weren't they? They're starting to get back like every year, but first time in Edmonton, it's got to be like 5 years, right?
Yeah, it's pre-COVID, so yeah.
Well, this is what the UFC thinks of you.
Perfect.
A couple of flyweight fights at the top of the card, which are like, the Moreno Albazi is a fine fight. Namajunas Blanchfield's, I guess that's probably a number one contender fight in the women's flyweight division. Seems like Rose always is. A little bit of Black Beast mixed in there. It's a card. I'm sure that the lovely folks in Edmonton will have a blast. We're going to kick it off from the bottom in the featherweight division, Yusuf Zalal on a roll since he came back to the UFC. On enough of a roll that he should be minus 250 here against Jack Shore, Shaun?
It's a bit surprising. Like I've liked what I've saw from Zalal since he's came back. He's dusted some guys. Jack Shore is a pretty damn good grappler. I know he can be taken down a bit, but he's pretty decent. So like, and on the feet, like I think Jack Shore is a bit of a better striker, throws more volume. So I don't know. This number seems wide. Yeah, like I know Jack Shore's coming off the injury, or the
gash on the
that was the nasty cut, right?
Yeah.
So I guess when was that? That was in May. So not it's an okay time off, but I haven't seen any photos of him. I would hope the soft tissue should be fine. He's not some 35, 40-year-old dude that can't seem to heal well. So I don't know. I'm looking at taking Shore. It seems wide. This could become a striking fight and could become very close if the kind of grappling cancels out. And if they're grappling, Jack Shore can hold his own. So that's a pretty decent number in my opinion on Shore.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm going to get to a bet in this fight. But man, if you think that Zalal should be minus 250, you probably think that based on the fact that he's been pretty dominant grappling in his last couple of fights. Shore got arm triangled by what's his face? Ricky Simon Pato. A couple fights ago. Zalal by sub at plus 800. Seemed like a pretty big number. If you think he deserves to be this price on the money line, then that price should be way shorter. So maybe a look there, but that's all I can really think in this fight. I'm not really looking at Jack Shore. Like you said, he gets taken down a bit too much for my liking. I think Zalal is going to be quite a bit bigger in this fight and able to muscle him around a little bit. So maybe just that sub look. But that's all I can really think about in that fight. Women's strawweight division up next. And we've got a trend starting here, folks. Jamie Lynn Horth, Canadian, possibly related to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Don't know. Looks a little bit like it in some of her pictures. She's taking on Ivana Petrovic, and she's Canadian and a minus 200 favorite. Shaun.
I am using my one pass card on the night, and it is going on this fight because no one gives a shit. But you're gonna pick the dog. If you're an absolute degenerate, bet the dog. It's a woman who is a Canadian woman who is minus 220, and it's a terrible fight.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen either of these two fight. I'm not going to watch this fight. But the person who lost to Veronica Hardy, nay Macedo, is minus 200 in a fight. That does not seem like a thing that makes sense to me in any universe. Next up, bantamweight division, Chad Analager taking on Cody Gibson. And I think this is one of the few where the Canadian is not favored, which sounds correct.
Yeah. And he probably shouldn't be. Analager gets taken down by literally everyone he fights. If Gibson is smart, he will employ that, and he should win a probably 29-28 decision. if he chooses to scrap, then this might turn poorly for him. But I'll pick Gibson. I don't like laying almost minus 200 on Cody Gibson. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I still can't really help but think of Cody Gibson as the guy that was in the UFC a decade ago. I've seen way more of his fights from back then than I have from his return to the UFC, which just completely colors my perception of who he is now. No interest in betting it. I don't know. This could be, like, as you said, if it stays on the feet and Helliger or Analiger or Anal Iger, whatever, he's got some decent striking on the feet. Just doesn't really put enough combinations together for my liking. But yeah, it's a weird one. It's a prelim fight for sure. Bantamweight division. Someone named Serhai Saidi is taking on Garrett Armfield. Apparently, Serhai is Canadian, so it doesn't bode well for him.
How close is Burlington to you? That's where he's born. Yeah, that's
25, 30 minutes down the road.
There we go. I don't have too much here. I think Armfield is probably a bit better. Seems like he has a bit more power from what we've seen in the UFC anyway. I'll pick the guy that's not Canadian.
Ooh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would also pick the guy who is not Canadian, but that guy is also Garrett Armfield. But he did beat a Canadian a couple fights ago, so maybe he's already in his head about him, but absolutely no interest, no bet here. We're going to keep it moving to the big boys. Little, not full t-shirt in the pool. Maybe like a half t-shirt in the pool for this one, because that fat fuck Romanov, he's wearing a t-shirt in the pool. But the Brazilians, no shame, no t-shirt there for old Rodrigo Nascimento. What are we thinking about this one? If it was like 2 years ago, Romanov would be like minus 600.
Yeah, and we would get a true fatties with some plus money on the 1.5. But sadly, we are far from that. I'm pretty sure Lewis versus Romanov was going to be the original co-main event on this card.
That would be awesome.
When Rose versus Rose was the main event. So they upgraded the card a bit. I love how he just goes from co-main event down to like third or fourth fight on the card. Yeah, I don't. It really just depends on where this goes. If it's on the feet, Romanov is going to lose. If Romanov can get takedowns, then he's probably going to win. These guys are both terrible. Romanov really fell off a cliff. I think people thought he was going to be good at one point, and then turns out when you can't just like fall on top of somebody and just them absolutely just giving you a submission, when that doesn't happen, you stop winning fights. It's a bit wild. It's a pick 'em. I don't think anybody knows what the fuck is going to happen here. I'll pick Romanov to get a greasy sub on Nascimento.
I think I'm going the other way. I'm going with Nascimento here. I think there's enough grappling there that Romanov's like flabby forearm chokes and super heavyweight shit isn't going to work on him. And then on the feet, there's a significant advantage for Nascimento. It's not to say he's good on the feet. It's just Romanov's real bad on the feet. Did you see that Romanov's last weigh-in was for a grappling match that he had, and he weighed in at 290 pounds?
I mean, if we're being honest, is that really surprising? He looks like just gets no fucks about his body or his cardio. Like,
you remember he had those couple fights where he was at like 230, 235, and I mean, then he started being fat again and lost to Tybura and Volkov and everybody. So being fat doesn't suit him well. I'll take Nascimento. I don't know. Maybe look at round 2, round 3, just because Romanov's going to get fat and quit. So I don't know what those prices are. I'm not going to look them up right now, but I do kind of like Nascimento here. Bantamweight division up next. The next Canadian favorite, Charles Jourdain, taking on Victor Henry, who probably lives closer to Edmonton than Charles Jourdain, because he's like a Barnett guy, which means he's on the West Coast somewhere.
Yeah. UWF USA. Where the hell is that? I can't remember where that's based out of. But yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll see if Jourdain can make 135. It seemed like a small featherweight. Seemed like he was pretty skinny. Might just be a muscle thing or something. I don't know what this guy is going to look like at 35, but it could be a little scary. He's been getting hit a bit in recent fights. He's kind of always got hit a bit, but now he's cutting more weight. He's fighting a guy that puts on a tremendous pace. So, that doesn't. We talked about this before the podcast. It's not usually a concern that Jourdain's going to gas, but cutting another 10 pounds, Victor Henry just throwing absolute shit tons of volume. His cardio might get tested. So I kind of like Victor Henry here. Jourdain got dropped twice and put away in June. That's what do we got? July, August, September, October. Yeah, it's 4 months. 4 months. And then we're dropping 10 more pounds. I'll take Victor Henry. I don't know if he gets him out of there. Jourdain's, for the most part, been pretty durable, but I like Victor Henry to just throw a shit ton of volume and kind of edge out Jourdain.
Yeah, this is one of those changes in weight that just seems like not the problem that needed fixing. Maybe like get better at not getting punched in the face would be a good start. I don't know that cutting 10 more pounds and probably having worse cardio, worse reactions, all that sort of stuff on fight night against faster guys is necessarily going to help you out all that much. Might have some success early just because he's still a talented offensive fighter, but Victor Henry's durable, puts on a great pace. As you said, is he going to be able to take the damage as well? 10 pounds lighter? Is he going to have the same cardio cutting those extra 10 pounds? I don't want to trust those things. It's not like he can just rely on getting takedowns against Henry if the striking isn't working out. So what's the plan B for him if things start going sideways? I don't necessarily know that he's got one here. So I think this is going to start off competitive and then slowly just sort of tilt its way towards Victor Henry. So going to take Victor Henry. Going to fade Canada here. What are we going? Plus 118, since that's what's at old Bet Online at the moment.
Sounds good to me.
Consensus bet of the week. It's not the oldest guy on the card, but he is a 37-year-old bantamweight, which I think qualifies as pretty old. So we'll take it. We're not deviating from our principles here. Next up, women's flyweight division. Ariane Lipski taking on Jasmine Jazadovicius, another female Canadian in excess of minus 200. Shaun, what is happening in the world?
Yeah, it's scary. I do think there is a path for Jasdovicius to get the W. We saw last time out Lipsky against Silva, and Silva was able to out grapple her. I think that is the easiest path to victory. Don't get your arm caught in armbar from guard, which we haven't seen one of those in a little bit, so we're probably due. So it could happen. But yeah, so like I'm not betting it, but I do understand why she's the favorite. Lipsky has just been taken down by anybody with good grappling, and Jasdovicius has decent grappling, so I think she's going to be able to get her down and kind of nullify any subs that Lipsky throws up and wins a pretty boring 3-round decision.
So that's what she should do. So what she's going to end up doing is just keep it on the feet and lose a close striking battle to a fighter that she could easily beat otherwise.
Perfect. That's what we're looking for.
Love it. Yeah, no bet here. Kind of agree with what you said. I get why she's the favorite here. There is a clear path to victory, but I have no interest in trusting that price. Bantamweight division up next. Amin Zahabi taking on Pedro Munoz. Shaun.
Never been a fan of Zahabi. He's on a 4-fight winning streak. Finally, this is the first time since 2017 that he's fought twice in a year. So I mean, I guess this fight might not happen. It's very possible. But yeah, he's on a 4-fight winning streak. You know, he's thrown some hands in some of these fights. I just think Pedro Munoz is obviously fought the tougher competition. There's the elite beat him, and you know the leader able to deal with his pressure, deal with his calf kicks, and kind of pick him apart. I don't think Zahabi is elite. Munoz has good takedown defense, so I don't think there's going to be much grappling here. So this is going to be on the feet, and Munoz is going to come forward. If Zahabi is able to just jab and pick him apart, I guess props to him. But I've always liked Munoz. You know, recently he's been costing me some money because he's been losing to these good guys. But I think this is a fight where he's going to be able to throw hands, maybe catch him with one of those bombs. But I think he's going to be hitting Zahabi a lot harder. And those calf kicks, they are game changers. Like if you don't fucking check them, I know we hate it because it ruins fights and sometimes good fights, but he's got that, and he can change a fight with those things. So I like Munoz here. I'm going to be on him.
That was actually the tiebreaker for why we didn't go with this one as the consensus bet of the week, folks. We're between the two old bantamweight underdogs who are taking on Canadians, and we picked the one that doesn't rely on calf kicks. So Pedro Munoz, you're on the list. All right. You've been given notice about the calf kicks. It's fine when we bet on you. It's ridiculous at every other time. But I do like him here against Zahabi. As you said, the stance and the way that Zahabi likes to fight is going to leave that leg kind of open to calf kicks. I don't think that he's got the power or really anything else in his game that is going to trouble even a Munoz that's fading. It's always kind of tricky with these guys that only ever lose to good fighters, but you can see them obviously start to decline as they get older, but they're still only losing to good fighters. But now instead of like the top 5 guys, they're losing to a top 10 guy, or what's Kyler Phillips? I guess he just lost, so he's gone down in the rankings.
But he was around there.
But he's going to be like around top 10. So, I mean, to me, I just don't see Zahabi, especially he's like mid-30s as well. He's 36. I don't see him suddenly breaking into the top 15 or the top 10 at this point in his career. He's always been matched incredibly smartly throughout his career. I guess that's what happens when your brother, trainer, manager is in good with the UFC because he happened to coach GSP for a little while. But yeah, I am also liking what Pedro Munoz is bringing here. So plus money here is fine for me. Henry was also a bigger price. So, we love those dollar bills. Yep. Welterweight division. Mike Malott, Trevin Giles, another big Canadian favorite. This one, I'm going to say Shaun thinks is justified.
It probably is. I think this is kind of a setup fight. It's not a setup fight like last week at 308 where the guy just got nuked. But I do think they're giving Mike Malott a favorable matchup. They seem to like him. He's kind of out there in the media. They're trying to push him as kind of the next thing in Canadian MMA. He got Magny Madoff last time. Looked decent for a couple rounds, and then Magny just survives and dragged into the water. Is a bit of a throwback. Magny hasn't been doing that much lately, but he got Malott, so props to him. But Giles obviously coming off two finishes. The losses, the guy he's fought, they're good guys. Bonfim and Paradas are not bad guys, but I think the matchup here is Mike Malott's going to be able to grapple and maybe snatch a sub. Maybe if Giles is able to survive and really force him to or he's going to get up a bunch and make Malott do a lot of grappling. Maybe Malott gasses again and Giles can kind of take over in the third, but I do think Malott probably gets the win here. No way that I'm going to lay minus 265 on him, but I can see where that's coming from.
Yeah, I think that Giles at this point in his career struggles with guys that are relatively dynamic. I'm not sure that Malott fits that bill quite like Paredes or Bonfim, but he's got a lot of pretty decent technical skill in several different places where if Giles leaves his neck hanging out or, dances in with his hands down, he's going to pay for it. Is that enough for me to want to bet Malott at, what did you say, 265, 250?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that area? No, not really. If he wins, it's probably a finish, and even that is minus money everywhere, so not really loving that idea. Nothing really in this fight. I guess, maybe the over 1.5. It's priced like Malott's just gonna go in there and blow him out. It's like minus 130 to over 1.5.
That's not bad.
I know Giles usually gets finished in his losses, but it's usually not immediately. Aside from the Bonfim, just he got taken down, and boy, did that room stink after that one. So maybe the over, but there's enough other stuff on this card that I don't need to force that. Middleweight division up next. Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Shaun.
You look at the line and Barriault is like minus 200, and that's a bit startling. I don't know if he should be minus 200 to kind of anybody in the UFC. Both these guys got knocked out in June by guys that have a lot of power. Stoltzfus, we got to get takedowns. Can Barriault stuff those? I mean, for the most part, he has in his career. I mean, Fluffy's going to take down everybody almost. So you can't really give him shit for that. But I guess there's been some other guys that have taken him down. But
usually not easy.
Not easy. They get him down. I don't know how long he stays there. It's usually a grind. So if Barriault is able to force Stoltzfus to shoot some takedowns and not get them or get up fairly quickly, then he probably is just going to outvolume him on the feet. Barrio throws a shit ton of strikes, and this is kind of just a classic grappler versus striker, and the striker probably wins here. It's just minus 200. Ooh, on a Canadian in this economy?
Yeah, it's. I mean, just based on the number alone, it's tempting because, as you said, Barrio, he usually doesn't get taken down a ton, but he gets taken down. Aside from the fluffy fight, he gets taken down once or twice in a lot of his fights. Stoltzfus seems like a pretty decent wrestler. I don't know if physically he can, if he has what it takes to kind of like muscle Barrio around and get him down that way. And if he doesn't, the striking has been absolutely nothing that's impressed me. Just based on prices in this one, Stoltzfus by decision plus 450 would probably be the direction that I'm looking at. I think that's probably inflated a bit because Barrio got knocked out last time out, but that's just a completely different guy than he's facing here in Stoltzfus. So I don't think he's at risk of getting knocked out again. I don't think he's going to look, I don't even know what Puna was doing in that fight against Stoltzfus, but he looked fucking atrocious in that one. I don't think it's possible for Barrio to look that bad. So maybe we could see Stoltzfus take this one to a decision. What's the total at in this one? I feel like that. No, that's not interesting at all.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We'll keep it moving then. Light heavyweight division. Caio Machado, Brenson Ribeiro. What the hell are two Brazilians doing fighting in Edmonton, Shaun? What's going on here? Is this Danbury? Danbury North?
Now, technically, supposedly, Machado is kind of Canadian. Why the fuck is this fight so high on the card? These guys are combined 0-4 in the UFC. What are we doing here? Man, the UFC they're just trying to find something at light heavyweight, I guess, but it's just not happening. I don't really care about this fight. Machado's supposed to be, a bit of a prospect, but you can't be a prospect if you're looking to don't tail Mays. Bad. Very bad. I don't know. Brenson Ribeiro is a very flawed fighter as well. Ribeiro, I guess, could get some takedowns. Machado's gonna win if it's on the feet. I don't really care. I'll continue the trend and pick the non-Canadian.
I think you said it best a couple times during that breakdown. I don't really care.
Sure.
Yeah. If I am watching at this point in the card, there is a good chance I will be doing whatever I need to do around the house while this one is happening, because woof. Heavyweights up next. Black Beast, save us. He's taking on Jonathan Denise. And stop me if you've heard this one before, Shaun, but the Black Beast is an underdog, and he's facing a guy, doesn't matter, it's not top 5 anymore. Probably not even top 10. Is this guy, is he even ranked? Is he even a real fighter?
Allegedly? This is a weird one. I was very, very surprised by that number. You look at Black Beast by KO at some really square books. He's in the plus 225. At some other ones, he's like plus 210. This guy's not going to grapple him. And this guy is not, who is beating Black Beast these days? Like, good fighters. Almeida was able to grapple him. Fair enough. Spivak grappled him. Pavlovich, well, he's got bombs, and Tuivasa's got bombs as well. Does Denise have bombs? Doesn't really look like it. So you're telling me that you're giving me Black Beast 15 minutes to land one on this guy, and you're gonna give me like over plus 200 on that. I'd admit that I was not catching the old Black Beast round 3 and KOs like you and Lance were way back in the day, but this seems a bit too far gone. So I will be on the Black Beast.
Yeah, it's hard not to have a little poke here. I know that Denise is supposed to be a kickboxer or whatever, but kickboxing and MMA are a whole lot different, and he hasn't looked all that great in MMA. Obviously, last time out, actually not even last time out, he got taken down by fucking Austin Lane. So like any thoughts that you have that Black Beast needs to worry about the grappling here, just completely put him out of your mind. Not a thing, which means this is going to turn into a striking battle. And it's probably one of those ones where Black Beast's going to sit back, he's going to eat some shots, and then he's going to flurry. And if that doesn't work, then he's going to sit back and eat some shots, and then he's going to flurry again. And if it doesn't work that time, guess what? The same thing is going to happen for the next 15 minutes. And like Shaun said, he only needs to land one over the course of that time. And we've seen him fight a lot of good strikers throughout his, maybe not a lot of good strikers because they're heavyweights, but a lot of capable MMA strikers throughout his career. And he hits differently than people that have hit them before. Yeah. Black Beast, TKO, 215, 220, anything north of 200, really, I think is probably worth a shot if you know you're going to get 15 minutes or however long it takes of striking. That'll be fun. This probably won't. Co-main event, women's flyweight division. Chud Rose, future champ Aaron Blanchfield. Shaun, what say you?
I'm surprised that Rose is an underdog. You know, she's been around for a while. She was the champion. You know, she did what she had to do against Tracy Cortez. I don't know, Blanchfield. I thought she was going to be like super good, and then she's, you know, once she stepped up to a bit of a better fighter, then she hasn't looked like elite, and she hasn't, you know, shown that finishing capability. I think Rose is probably the better striker, and the grappling is probably pretty close as well. I think Rose probably has better submissions. Blanchfield has the better just pure wrestling. This is a 5-round co-main event. So we might be subjected to 25 minutes of this. And I think we are. And I think Rose is going to win probably 3 rounds. And it's going to stink out the joint. So I might have to put some money on Rose, sadly.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, Rose has always been, not always, but for the last half of her career has been a capable wrestler. She's not easy to take down. She can mix in some takedowns of her own. She's obviously the more talented striker here. But an absolute fun vacuum. Anyway, I too think she wins this fight. I'm not going to bet it, though. Why would I subject myself to something like that? We're just going to move it on to the main event. LR, your Yankees keep blowing it. Bases loaded again the next inning, and they couldn't do anything. Anyway, Main event, flyweight division. Former champion Brandon Moreno, and he is not, I repeat, not fighting Davison Figueiredo.
Hooray.
He's also not fighting Pantoja, who after fighting Figgy 4 times, he fought for the 3rd time. And he's not fighting Brandon Royval, who he has also fought twice. He's fighting somebody that he's never fought before. It's crazy.
Look out.
Holy. And that is Amir Albazi, who somebody on this podcast picked as like a breakout fighter a year or 2 ago. And look at him now.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, there's not really any denying that. I think most people thought he lost the fight against KKF, got outstruck. He was able to lay on KKF, but I don't know if we look at what the how things should be being judged, he probably should have lost that fight, but here we are. These guys have been in quite a few split decisions between them. I think that's just because, for the most part, at high level flyweight, a lot of times these guys aren't going to get finished. So we're going, 3 rounds or 5 rounds, and a lot of these rounds are razor close. I can see that happening again here. Might be worth it to find that book that has the fight ends in split or majority. It looks like it's already been getting hit at the book that I can see anyway. It's only like plus 275 or plus 250. It's a bit low.
That's women's MMA prices.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, like seems like they know it's a decent possibility. Yeah, I just think this, like I said, high level flyweights is close fights, so this could be a lot of close rounds. Moreno, it's been hard to kind of judge him after all those Figueiredo fights. Loses a close one against Pantoja, then loses a close one to Royval. Those aren't bad losses. He was competitive. He could have won a couple of those fights, so I think he's still elite. Albazi it's just more of an unknown. It was a big step up against KKF. He did get the win. It was a big step up. So even if it was a close, even if he lost it, it was still a close fight. I'm not sure if Albazi is going to be able to lay on Moreno like he did a bit against KKF. So then it gets a little more wild on the feet. Moreno at times has shown, a really good jab and a really good striking game. It's not always consistent, but I think if he's having one of those good days, then he's probably gonna outstrike Albazi on the feet. So I'll pick Moreno by decision. Might even be split. It's gonna be close.
Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth on this one. I wanted to pick Albazi just because he's been all right to me throughout the years so far, but looking at it a bit more, what happens in the Moreno Royval fight if he's facing someone that isn't throwing 8,000 strikes over the course of 25 minutes? What happens in the Pantoja fight if he's not facing somebody that instantly takes your back and the round is over if you make the slightest mistake on the ground? And I think we find out the answer to that, and it's those rounds that ever so slightly don't go his way because he's got an opponent that has that one dominant skill. Those rounds probably go his way against Albazi. I do think that Moreno is like as old as you could possibly be as a 30-year-old fighter, except for like Aldo, who had fought 8,000 times by the time he was 30 already. But a flyweight who has 30 fights, 32 fights, a lot of them being 5 rounds, a lot of them taking a lot of damage in. He's probably going to start to break down sooner than most guys would at his age. Does that happen in this fight? I don't necessarily know. I'm not willing to bank on it, but this is definitely going to be a competitive fight. I do just think that Moreno manages to eke it out. And honestly, if the split majority prop is plus 275, like you said, I don't particularly have any interest in that. But maybe when it opens at some more books, we'll get the 400s and that sort of stuff that we usually see down to plus 250 at bet online. So it's going to be higher somewhere else. Maybe that's worth a look, but I think it's going to be a pass for me on the main event. In closing, fade Canada, and you'll probably do all right on this card. I know we were aiming for a little bit of a shorter show. We just hopped over the hour mark, so apologies, folks. That's I'd say it's on me, but
It's on the UFC for putting 14 fights on a fucking card.
Exactly. We hope you enjoy the card this week. I don't know if there's one the following week.
Back in the warehouse, Magny versus Protas as a main event.
Wow. That is something. Yeah. We'll be back for that one. Hopefully Wes will be back with us this week. And go enjoy yourself. It was like a beautiful summer day here today, Shaun. It's 24 degrees.
Lucky bastard. There was
October
snow the other day.
30th. We'll see you next week.
Bastard.